Thanks for joining us today, my friends. Great to see you as we journey through the Bible together, one day at a time, Genesis to Revelation in this year. And this is Tim, your teacher and guide through Scripture today. Just enjoying my week, really, in the Olympic Peninsula. Very encouraged by the churches I preached at last Sunday. This Sunday, I'll be preaching once again at Straight View Baptist in Port Angeles. And looking forward to that time together, but really enjoying our time today. Our reading for today was in Isaiah chapter 47 to 51. And we're going to take a few minutes today just to consider chapter 49 of Isaiah. It sounds like maybe the prophet was a little discouraged as he writes this. He's in a slump, maybe. You ever feel like that? You wonder if you're accomplishing anything significant in this world, and maybe things aren't going the way you would like in your work or your marriage or your family, those around you, and you maybe do feel discouraged sometimes. We all go through those times. Paul did, as he writes. Even with all the great things that he did, there were times when he was discouraged. And I think Isaiah is, maybe, as he writes here, because sometimes we go through those times. Jonathan Edwards even did. He was one of our country's greatest pastors. It's almost hard to overestimate the influence that this man had on our country and its founding. He was instrumental in the revival that was known as the Great Awakening. He wrote many books that are still in print today after hundreds of years and still read and appreciated by people today. He was a great man, and yet in July of 1750, his church voted to fire him. Did you know that? Jonathan Edwards got fired? In fact, in that meeting, only 10% of those who were there voted to keep him on. And Jonathan Edwards was in the right. It was not that he's doing anything wrong in his ministry, and he was even right in the issue that they were debating. It was what is called the halfway covenant. And it was common in churches at that time to allow people in membership who are not even saved. And Edwards correctly insisted that conversion must be a requirement for membership in a church. And he's out of there. Well, I wonder if Isaiah felt a little bit like that in chapter 59. Sounds like he was in a slump, and people maybe were not listening to his messages, and the crowds were down, and didn't feel like he was doing much of anything significant. I hope you're not feeling that way today, but maybe you are. Sometimes we do go through those times where you feel like Isaiah did in verse 4 of chapter 49. Listen to what he said. Then I said, I have labored in vain. I've used all my strength for naught and in vain. Yet surely my judgment is with the Lord and my work with my God. But right after, Isaiah says, I worked hard for nothing. I used all my strength, that I did it for nothing. God had the final word in that. And that's the point. He'll decide what my work is worth at the end of the day. He'll decide my reward. Verse 5. Now saith the Lord, that formed me from the womb to be a servant, to bring Jacob again to him. Though Israel be not gathered, yet shall I be glorious in the eyes of my Lord, and my God shall be my strength. All right, maybe the people were not listening, the crowds were not coming. Maybe he was not successful in bringing the Jewish people back to their God and forsaking their idols, but God would have the final word. And God reminded Isaiah of some important things, that he was his servant. That's who he was. He's not serving the people that he was preaching to or the Jews who were there in Jerusalem. He's God's servant. That's true of you, my friends. And God will have the final word in what your ministry is like. He'll be your judge at the end of the day, not other people around you, the people you work with, or anyone else. He reminds Isaiah what he's supposed to do to lead people back to God. It didn't matter if they weren't following. He was doing his job in delivering the message. And he said in verse 6 that he's an important servant as far as God is concerned. Verse 6 says, he said, "It is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob and to restore the preserved of Israel. I will also give thee for a light to the Gentiles, that thou mayest be my salvation to the end of the earth." We never know how God is going to use our influence or our impact or even our struggling ministries. And for Isaiah, he said it's a light thing that you're doing my work of bringing Israel back to me. But even more than that, you're going to have an impact on Gentiles around the world that, of course, Isaiah has through the book that he wrote. It's part of the Bible today. God says, I'll hear your prayers. I'll help you. Same thing is true for you, my friend. If you're in a slump today, maybe like Isaiah was, and you're wondering if there's meaning in what you're doing, think of what the Lord had to say to Isaiah. He would say the same thing to you if you're his servant. You know him today. Well, meditate on that, my friends. Be in the Word. Tomorrow our reading is in Isaiah chapter 52 to 57, and so be reading there. And I look forward to being back with you again very soon. Have a great day, folks.